Yo, 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 what is going on? We are back with another episode of the Unsilent Church podcast. And today we got a special guest in the building today, Bikonzi Moise. Did I say it right?
Yep.
Good for you, John.
Bikonzi Moise. I need to
applause.
give me a round of applause on that joint, man.
I did.
Because I was practicing that. I was making sure I don't want to mess it up and nothing like that, you know. So I'm glad I was able to announce that well.
Are you proud of him? You should be proud of him.
I'm very proud.
You should be proud of him.
And we also got to get you back on the court too, because you said you.
But you're retired.
Yeah, you're retired.
I can watch.
Oh, the pickleball court. The pickleball court.
No. The basketball. I just want to watch though.
Well,
I want to watch and talk trash.
I want to watch with you and talk trash.
Well,
That's funny.
Man, it's good to have you here, Bikonzi. Well, I guess we could just go ahead and just jump right into it. We want to hear a little bit about who you are, things of that nature, and also we want to talk a little bit about the book that was written about you. Here's it for those that may want to check it out. There, it's called "Cockroaches, God, Death, and Mangoes." And before we get into that, just tell a little bit about yourself and where you're from, all that good stuff.
So this is a biography.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I originally thought you wrote it.
Oh, no. Writing is not my thing. So Clint actually sat down with me and we kind of went chapter by chapter. He also interviewed like my mom and my older siblings to fill in a few gaps here and there that he needed. So no, definitely did not write that. But a little bit about me. I work for a nonprofit called Mission One. I'm a programs manager there. And pretty much what I do for Mission One is I build relationships. We have 13 partners right now in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. And we pretty much partner with the organizations there and we come alongside them. And pretty much, our saying is make communities more like the kingdom. So we partner with an organization and we say, what is needed here and how do we help? Part of that might be starting small businesses with them to help them be financially sustainable, or it might be planning a church, might be planning a school. So that's part of my job of what I do as the programs manager there. But probably 70% of my job is to build relationship with them. Okay. Because when you are in deep relationship, people can say no, people can say yes, instead of just, because people in other countries, it's so easy to say yes all the time because it might help them financially. But we try to because I think when people think of making communities more like the kingdom, they think of evangelism, they think of planting churches, of specifically going around sharing the gospel. But I think when a family can't afford food and you provide a job for them, that's making communities more like the kingdom. So
that's good.
Yeah, so that's a little bit about my job. I am married. I have 3 boys.
Oh, praise
Lyman, Alik, and Damon.
What was the first one?
Lyman.
Yeah,
Lyman, Alik, and Damon. So I'm married. My wife's name is Jennifer, but everybody calls her Jenny. I'm one of 10. There's 7. Yeah, there's 7 boys and
busy.
All right, be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, my mom had us. My dad passed away at a really young when I was like 6. So my dad passed away when my mom was like 35 years old. So we could have probably had 5 more siblings, if I'm being honest. So
was this before or after?
Yeah, so part of the story talks about it. So through that, without getting too much into detail since we haven't gone into there, when these kind of genocide happen, the first people to die are usually the males, like older teenagers or the fathers. So my dad was one of the first people who got killed because he's a male. So so
that's terrible.
So maybe this is a good way to get into this. I mean, you're talking about your refugee experience, right?
Yes.
Is that so? What country was this in?
So I was born in the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah.
So,
and then what happened there in terms of like helping people understand like the situation that's been going on there?
Yeah.
And what led to you having to flee, essentially?
Yeah. So a lot of people actually remember the genocide that took place with Rwanda and all that stuff. Because you can see Hotel Rwanda for people that have watched this. But a lot of people forget like the second genocide that came around, which was actually more deadly, more people were killed and all that stuff. So my family in 1997 or 98 got caught into that. I was like about 6.5, almost 7 when that happened. And I didn't fully understand what took place because, I was born in Congo. That's pretty much what I knew as my home. So I really couldn't tell the difference of like this tribe or that tribe because I was too young. But just a little background story. So I remember, all these things like, when you live in another country, community is pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
I remember if my mom had to go somewhere, she pretty much would just tell our neighbors, hey, I'll be back in 6 hours. Our neighbors would take care of us, will watch us, will make sure we eat.
Yeah.
It was never like, oh, my mom's going to get a babysitter. So we like grew up in like what you call it, like a community.
Yeah.
So when
community.
I don't know how else to describe it besides like an act, because communities look different here as they did there. I'm pretty sure if my mom had to go to work now, she would not tell her neighbors, hey, can you watch your kids for 6 hours? That would just probably not happen.
Yeah.
But I remember we had a tradition in my house. My mom believed the best way to end your day was having a family prayer, praying together, asking each other for forgiveness, and then going to bed. Because that was like what she believed was the right way to end the day. So every night before we went to bed, we would all get together. We would pray. We would ask each other for forgiveness. As kids, I'm asking my brother for forgiveness because I called him a name or because that's just kind of what my mom taught us with forgiveness. So I just remember one night, normal, we doing the same thing we usually do. And as soon as we were done praying, military people broke into our house and were like trying to pretty much saying, everybody get in the truck. We lived in a gated community. So also, I guess my family was kind of well off, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So money was really not a big issue. So we lived in a gated house because my parents owned their own cow business. So they sold the meat, they sold cows. So we would financially well off, I would say as a kid. But so the military people jumped over the fence and all that and were led by someone that knew us to our house. So we, and I touch a lot about the person in the story, which it's interesting because we're kind of related to the person. So that also, there's a lot more trauma that also brings in its own.
Yeah.
And, in the African culture, the way we deal with trauma is probably not the healthiest way. I don't know how else to put it.
It wouldn't pass our mental health assessments today.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, I just remember one night and then people were saying that I remember the memories I remember from that time was my mom told my dad, just run and go, hide. Because, prior to that, like a month before, my mom all of a sudden was like, hey, don't leave our gated neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like it was weird to me as a kid because I'm like, usually I could leave and roam around and come back. But all of a sudden my mom was being more like, hey, stay in the gated community. And I didn't get it, but I just thought, I don't know, my mom just wants to keep an eye on us, wants to make sure we're not getting in trouble. I didn't think too much of it. And I would see military people come in our house asking about my dad, but I just thought, my dad has military friends. Like I wasn't really thinking through like they're trying to know exactly what my dad's home to like capture him or whatever. So as a kid, as a 6.5-year-old, I'm not thinking of that. I just think, it's cool. My dad knows like different type of people because we lived in the community. We knew people that were poor. We knew people that were rich. We knew people that were in the government service. We kind of just, again, I grew up in a Christian home. So my mom's big thing is she wanted her house to be very welcoming.
Yeah.
So everyone was welcome at our house, which as a kid, again, I didn't understand and I didn't really like or appreciate because it just felt like we constantly had people in our house.
So the military came, they took you? What happened?
Yeah, so when they came in, they pretty much told us, get in the truck. A lot of us, they put my entire family except my dad because they couldn't find him. And then we stopped by 3 other homes. So it was a total of 5 families. They put us in 2 big trucks. They took us to this jail cell for 3 days. Then they moved us. Supposedly they were going to take us and kill us. Mm-hmm. So we're driving to this place. We get in the middle.
And you remember
of nowhere.
this. You got visuals of all of this in your mind.
It is definitely crazy how you remember bad moments a lot vividly more than like you remember like good moments. I can probably tell you how many times I remember all the good moments that happened at the time. And I'm pretty sure there was a lot more good moments, because we were in the concentration camp for 16 months, but I had lived for 6 years there. So it wasn't so I should have a lot more good memories than bad memories. But we remember we driving and they stopped the 2 trucks and say, hey, everybody get out. This is where we're going to kill him because their whole goal was let's kill him in the middle of nowhere so we don't have to move the bodies.
Right.
Wow.
And as we get in out, and at the time, my relation with Jesus was very I mean, I only knew my relationship with what my mom had told me.
Yeah.
One of my cousins, who's not my blood, his name is Christian. He's about 4 years older than me. As they're literally taking us out and say, line up here, this is where we're going to kill him. And at the time, I speak 5 languages. My mom speaks 9 languages. So we understand everything that anybody is saying. He goes and says, hey, I just saw an angel.
Wow.
He's also, I'm 6.5. So he's like 10.5. So he's not that much older. And we're like, an angel? Like, this is like the worst timing. He says, the angel told me that most of you guys are going to suffer like crazy, but most of you guys are not going to die. And we were like, I mean, I just remember being angry. Like, what? Like, what a bad timing. We're literally about to get shot right now. And as soon as he said that, 30 seconds later, the military people started fighting amongst themselves.
That's
like,
crazy.
Wow.
Pretty much saying, why do we have to kill him? And the thing is, to paint a picture for people, military people then just obey. Like, they didn't question, they didn't say anything. They just killed. They say to kill you, they'll come and kill you, whether it's daylight. And it wasn't really a thing you question, you know? So for them, and that's the thing, the older I've gone, the more I've gotten to see, like, literally God in every pieces that we were going through. As a kid, I was very mad at God, but I got a chance, like, now that I'm older and my relationship with Jesus is deeper and it's my own, I can tell. So yeah, they started fighting. So they fought for a while, and then they were like, all right, let's just take him and let the commanders kill him. So they took us to this military base. Pretty much, it was a huge abandoned building in there, like in the middle, and, you know, no doors, no windows, everything was kind of broken. And they just kind of put us in there. So their whole, and when we got there, the first thing they made us do was like dig out holes where they're going to bury us, because they didn't want to like waste their energy to do that. So it became at a point where we had made peace with dying. Like, dying was not like really, oh, we might be saved. It was more of like, when are we going to die, or how are we going to die?
Yeah.
I mean, because I remember for me, when I had made peace with, like, okay, I know I'm going to die. I just want to make sure I don't want to be tortured. That was like my biggest concern. I'm hoping I get shot, so it's like a quick death and all that stuff. But
you're a kid thinking this.
Yeah, I was a kid at the time. So I really did not, you know, we never thought we would survive. But again, God had, you know, like, we all have our own story for a reason. Yeah. And I know without my story, my relationship with Jesus would not be the same. So we were in there, and a lot of crazy.
Is this where you were there for 16 months?
Yeah. So we were in there, and they started off by giving us a cup of rice, and then they realized, why are we giving them a cup of rice? We're trying to starve them, so they die on their own. So we don't waste our bullets, we don't waste our energy killing them, and so they stopped giving us, you know, the cup of rice, because they were hoping we would die. And we ended up for a while surviving, because there was trees there that had mangoes, which is why, you know, the name of the book is a very interesting name, but all those things play big roles. So that's why we ended up titling, you know, that, because
cockroaches, God, death, and mangoes.
Yeah, cockroaches is because that's pretty much what they called us. They're like, hey, we keep killing you guys, but you guys keep coming back. You guys are like, so they didn't even use names. They just call us cockroaches and stuff like that. So yeah, but we were in there. You know, some of the highlight in the camp, because of course we can't get too deep into it, and I guess as we talk about it, we can. One of the things I also remember, when we went there, my mom didn't know she was pregnant. So my mom was pregnant with my 2 youngest siblings. Wow. They ended up being twins too.
That's
so
wild.
My mom is having a hard time at this point. And my mom's faith never wavered, but she would have like really serious conversation with God. I don't know how else to describe him. Like, angry at him. Like, why would you let me continue to be pregnant while you see I don't have food?
There are psalms like that in the Bible.
Yeah. So, but the crazy thing how God protected my mom in that moment was, my mom probably had my 2 youngest brother maybe 15 feet away from us. And my siblings did not hear anything. We woke up the next morning and we had 2 younger siblings.
That's wild.
You know, someone had to go outside and get a piece of wood to cut my mom's umbilical cord. Like, things like that, when you think of, like, you know, I have a wife who's given birth to 3 beautiful kids, and just to see what takes place
in a sterile hospital.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
For us not even hear my mom, and I don't know if my mom didn't really make noise, but so again, this is just God, you know, because, you know, there's so much shame there, especially in the African community. You giving birth and your kids there's so much shame. And even just thinking of how God was protecting my mom and us in that is just a big deal. But yeah, my siblings ended up being born there. And through my mom named my two younger siblings who were born after the two commanders who were trying to kill us in the camp. So the two leaders of the camp the military camp, my mom named my two youngest.
After the commanders?
Yes. So
why she do that? What made her do that?
Yeah, so my mom's never gone to school, but I believe my mom is the smartest human being in the whole world because one, she's very forgiving, but she can also think and also be obedient. But she named him because in our culture, naming someone after your kid, naming a kid after someone is like the biggest honor you could do. Like that is like better than giving you $1 billion. I know that sounds crazy to some people, but like in our culture, naming someone up, so my mom almost, I think, wanted to say, hey, I don't hate you guys. Just because you guys are doing this, you guys are like still a child of God. I still like, But the military's wives heard about this and came and visited my mom and brought her some medicine, brought her some stuff to like help her. So like,
wow.
So again, crazy. At the time I was so angry because I'm like, why? Because this is like a reminder for the rest of your life. You know? When you look at my siblings and you hear they have their names, but of course my mom just thought it's a way to forgive. It's a way to say, this is not you. It's like the devil work. And I wish I was that kind of human, but I'm still on a journey on that.
Now your father, they caught him at some point during this time?
So my father actually turned himself in.
Oh, wow.
Because at the time my dad had 8 kids.
Yeah.
I had a sister who was visiting my grandparents in Rwanda. So she had gone to visit him when all this thing happened. So one day she was in class and someone told her, hey, your whole family's dead. So she did not know. So, but my dad, what happened is when we left, they took us, my dad was like, well, what kind of man am I? My mom had a conversation with my dad because he turned himself in when they captured him, when they were putting us in the van to go after we were in the jail cell for 3 days. But my dad pretty much turned himself in and said, hey, I'm going to search for my family. And if we're going to die, I would rather we all die together than what am I going to do? Live the rest of my life with, I don't know, my money and stuff. And I know my entire family's dead. Because again, when people got captured, there was no surviving. So it's not my dad can say, hey, they're going to make it. I could make sure this happened or whatever. No, it was just most of like, when you got captured, you were going to die. Yeah. So I think, he turned himself in, and him being a male, then they ended up killing him. So it's just, that's how he ended up dying. But through all that, God has really, really helped us. So
they were killing the adult males, but even you as a young boy and others, they left alone for now?
Correct. And we had, like my older brothers, my 2 older brothers, my mom just told them, make yourself look as small as you could possibly make yourself. So as you're walking, like duck down so that they don't see that you are a teenager, for example. Because at the time I was really little. So for me personally, it wasn't that big of a deal because they would keep the women and kids. But my older brother, my mom would just have them duck or like have them make themselves as small as they can possibly do so they look like kids instead of older siblings. And my oldest brother was like at the time 14 or 15 and my other one was 12. But they're still like a little bit older than I was. So if anything, they would take him. And we knew one of the teenager who was turned in, who is like he's like a cousin, but not a blood cousin, who ended up in the jail cell with the male for a little bit. And I mean, he is older than my older brother, but he ended up sneaking out as my mom was having a conversation with my dad, almost pretty much saying bye, and got in the van. To tell you, he had been getting beat and tortured for like a few days, and to see how weak he was. I mean, imagine I was 6 and I was stronger than him, and he was probably like 15 or 16.
That's crazy.
Because of all the he could barely walk. He couldn't carry anything. And so, they would probably, like, I'm assuming from his experience, would torture them until they either die or they kill them because that was part. So that's how my dad ended up dying. But with all these things, as you read the book, as you hear the story, again, I used to have a hard time sharing my story because I didn't want people to feel bad for me. Like I have always felt more blessed than most people. So in my head, I always felt like I don't want to share this with my friends because they don't have any rights to feel bad for me. I actually feel more blessed than them. My relation with Jesus is so much deeper than theirs because I've actually seen God work, and they feel bad for me because my dad died, but God has put father figures in my life that are better than their fathers. Like, not to be mean, because that was not me actually trying to say their dad was bad. But I'm like, man, when I see how these father figures, specifically God's put in my life, show up, it's so much better than their parents. So like, why would they have? So I had a hard time sharing my story because I didn't want anyone to feel bad for me until I got to college and I met Clint. And then, where it was the first time I actually shared my story, and they were like, what? Like, you are such a happy person. Like, why?
Yeah.
So
a lot of the details of your experience there, we're not going to say everything, read the book, get all that. But I mean, it'd be cool to hear just how it ended in terms of like how this, like, so obviously what ended up bringing you here to the States.
So what ended up helping us? So the same people that are trying to kill us. So what happened is the same lady that brought the people to our house tried to get my older brother killed. My older brother was very strong. She was I'm always trying to say these things out of love also to make sure I'm not trying to paint a bad picture of someone. That's not necessary. We're just talking about what happened and how God, but he tried to pretty much get my brother killed faster, even though we kind of thought we were going to die. To think of, we were all struggling together and she was still trying to cause, because she wanted to like be in charge of the women that were in the camp, and she tried to like pretty much bully my mom, and my brother pretty much say, hey, if you ever look at my mom wrong, you better hope I'm dead first, because she had bullied some of the other parents in there and their kids kind of set back, and my brother was like, hey, as long as I'm still alive, you better not even look at my mom wrong. So she did not like that, so she lied to the military people as they're letting us try to like die away, and told them like, hey, he's planning this whole coup against you guys, he's going to try to take over and all these things.
That's savage.
Yeah, so they were going to kill my brother. The crazy part is, the reason we ended up surviving was partially, I mean, of course, God, like we can't say that enough. But my brother ended up was like convinced and saying, hey, why don't we just be your slaves until we die? Like, why don't, because we're in a military camp. Like, to get water, clean water there, you have to walk miles down hills. So these are things that their wives, their kids don't want to do. They're like, hey, you're going to kill us anyway. We're pretty much your slaves. Why don't you just let us do those for you until we die away? The thing is, the husbands didn't know is their wives, when we would do this, when I say we, I was too little to really carry a gallon of water. So my older siblings, when they would do this, the wives felt compassion. So they'll give them some sort of food. They'll give them something. So that's how I advanced the 16 months. Because you think you can't survive 16 months without anything. So that's how they'll give them something little. And my older brothers would bring it back and share with the kids. My role changed because I only have 2 older siblings.
So you can't make this stuff up.
So so God, I mean, man, and for me at the time, I'm probably around like 7 years old when they're doing this, close to 7 years old. My whole goal was, I don't want to be another mouth my siblings feed, because I only have 2 older brothers. Because I have 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters. So it was my brothers that were doing all the work and bringing food back. So my goal was, I don't want someone to take care of me. I will be an independent kid and take care of myself. If that means I have to steal, I have to do something, I will figure out a way to survive, so that that's one less mouth that they have to feed. Of course, there was days where I either couldn't eat or any of that, and then they would help me out. But my whole goal was, I know I can't help with the family, but I will help by not being one of the other people. But through that, when they turned my brother in trying to kill him because of all the lies that they made, one of the military people who was he was the engineer who made bullets, who made bombs and all that stuff, comes to my mom and says, if you give me your daughter, because I have an older sister who's like, at the time was like probably 17. Like, if you give me your daughter, I will save your son. Wow. And my mom is like, you're pretty much saying, why don't you kill one? Like, I'm willing to sacrifice my daughter to save my son. So my mom had a hard time in like even making that decision. And my sister pretty much was like, hey, it's not your decision, it's my decision. I am willing to go because I've already lost one father. I'm not losing my second father. Because in our culture, the oldest boy becomes like the father. So my sister's like, I don't really care what happens to me. If I die, I die. If whatever is going to happen, let it be. But as long as my oldest brother live, I will do that. So of course, the guy was not a good human. Of course. So he was an abusive male. But my sister, so pretty much my sister went with him. And again, as a 7-year-old, I just remember my sister leaving for a big chunk with this human. And then like for what felt like forever, but it was like a few months, came back and she was pregnant. So what happened is this terrible human being who was very abusive, like But through that, God like pretty much saves us through that. Like again, God uses the craziest story because if you ever hear my sister's full story, you're like,
how?
Like how? But he ended up, because my sister was pregnant, he's like, well, I don't want my son to die. You know, these people are gonna get killed. And he was pretty high up there. I mean, he makes the bombs and the bullets. You kind of need him, you know, and he had connection to like the president's son. So through that, he ended up telling the president's son, and the president's son's like, hey, like, don't kill these people. So of course, a lot of people had a hard time with it, like other military people. So they had made plans of like, hey, we're going to pretend like we're taking them to the airport, and halfway we're going to have an accident. We're going to kill them all. And one of the other military people like went against them and told us, it was like, hey, don't go in those cars, but they're going to come at this time. So get in here. Let's go this other route and get to the airport. So you can see when we get to the airport and we get into the plane, it's literally like a movie. I'm not even exaggerating. As we're getting there, they're trying to pull up to stop the plane from going. And it was like a cargo plane. We get in the plane, we leave, and then they drop us off in Kinshasa, which is the capital. But they just drop us off, and we're like, they're like, all right, you guys are free. We don't have money. We like, you know, and again, the president's son finds out and helps us. And then we ended up going to a refugee camp in Cameroon. And we were in Cameroon. I had a refugee camp there, and a lot of people at the time, because of all the fighting, were all trying to come to America. So whether you're wealthy, you're a doctor, you're whatever, because of all the fighting, everybody was trying. So there's a list of people, thousands of people, you know, and these Red Cross people will come, get paperwork for people, and then go to America or go wherever they live, get paperwork for people, and then come and take them and go. And then I remember when we got there, I mean, I don't remember personally, I ended up finding out from the lady who did this from the Red Cross, because she made a video. But they came in there, and one of the leader at the refugee camp was like, hey, before you leave, just take a peek in those 5 tents. And she was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So then she's like, I don't want to do that because I don't have their paperwork. So if I do connect with them and I can't take him, like that's going to like hurt me. So she ended up, one of the last days, she's like, okay, I'm going to look. It's my last day, so I can't really connect. So like nothing will happen. So she comes into the tent, meets my mom and my 2 youngest siblings. They were pretty much just the head, nothing else. It was like, if you look at their picture back then, it was literally like no body, but just the head. And as soon as she saw them, she's like, I can't leave without them. So she put us and the other 4 families in a bus and says, I'm going to take them. That crazy. Itself, it's crazy. Like you don't have anyone's paperwork. You don't know our name. She says, I'm going to take them. What I remember from that, again, we didn't speak one word in English. That was the first time I had seen a white person. So like, so we get in the van, and we remember getting to the airport, and her and the other guy getting out and arguing, seemed like arguing to us for like 30 to 40 minutes. And then she comes in and says, all right, you guys can go in. And we went in the plane. And then, yeah, we got a piece of air that said Arizona. And then we've been here ever since.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What?
So,
wow.
Yeah. So
where'd you meet this guy again?
Yeah.
Hey, man, I remember playing basketball with him.
So that's why I'm very passionate about everything I do. Sometimes a little too passionate when it comes to sport.
Man.
But
what's amazing is, I mean, just so many different
grace of God,
examples, of God's providence, His grace. And yeah, I mean, I think, again, just so people know, I mean, we didn't even touch, I mean, we don't touch only a small percentage of the whole story. It's worth getting the book, seeing the full
make sure y'all
picture.
get this book, man.
But yeah, I mean, I would be curious in terms of just hearing you talk more about just, what, as you sort of sit back and think about that, like, what are you trying to communicate to your kids about like the Lord, about how you experience pain, suffering, sort of just, what?
Yeah. I think as a Christian, first of all, I think the biggest thing I want to communicate to my kids and my friends and my family is like what we do matters. Because you hear all these things. We probably had even a harder time once we got here, because I had already made peace with dying when I was in the camp. Like dying was actually easier. Like I had made peace. But I think when we got here, it was even more challenging because, you know, we looked different, we sounded different, we didn't know anyone. So I think for me, what I think about is like what we do as Christian, or what we do as good people, because this is not just Christian, but mostly for Christian, because that's kind of what we're called to do. What we do matter, you know. So what I share with my kids, my entire family, my siblings, probably are all here because of a couple that we met when after we were here for a little bit. And I mean, when I talk about them, it makes me emotional. I'm not like an emotional person, but like I think people don't understand the power of what they do, of just being with people and having people feel seen and having people feel like wanted. You know, when we got here, our own people didn't want us, you know?
Wow.
So
when you say our own people,
when I say like people from Africa, my own neighbors were turning against us. The people that we had, like, so when I think of African people didn't want us, why would an American person want us? I don't care if they're African American. I don't care if they're white. Why would they want us and want to be a part of our life? So
when at home, they were like, really
like the people that are supposed to love us. It's like when your family doesn't love you, thinking of some other people will. So I think the message I try to communicate is to like everyone is like being in community matters so much. Yeah. You know, my mom, when we got here, she couldn't even go grocery shopping because she didn't speak English. She didn't know how to get around. She learned about going to learn English somewhere just so she can go buy food. She can do all those things. And one time when she was leaving, a lady heard her speaking French. So she was a French teacher, the same place that my mom was getting. So she got excited. Someone that speaks French. French happened to be one of the languages my mom spoke. And then she started talking to my mom, and then she was like, man, I love this lady. So she continued to get to know her. And one time it was raining, you know, my mom was taking like 2 buses to get to the class. She's like, can I give you a ride? And of course, my mom says, yeah. I mean, last thing I want to do is rain. And from that, a relationship was born. And then she started asking, can I meet your kids? Because my mom talked about our kids nonstop. But from that, just thinking of God opening my mom's heart to then meet the kids after all that's happened, like I feel like my trust issue would be out the roof. Like, you know, I don't know if I don't care who you are, like I would not. But God softened my mom's heart in that moment to let this lady in for a reason. And then she eventually would come, and then her husband came. So those 2 people like change how we view ourselves, how we view. When I tell people, when I think of how Jesus would be on earth if I was a part of his life now, those will be the 2 people.
That's huge.
Like, I just think the way they lived life where they're home, there was people that are diverse. There were people that were in all walks of life. They just made us feel seen. So I think when I think of us Christian, we have a big responsibility, not just to the refugee people, but people who don't have as much, just so they feel seen. You know, if you talk to some of my siblings, they would share how a lot of them thought about committing suicide. Because they felt like they didn't fit in. They felt like they didn't, because we were all being made fun of about one thing. Yeah. We looked weird. We talked weird. Like we felt like we didn't belong. But that to me made more sense because we don't belong here technically. But our own people also made us feel that way. But the 2 couples were the first people that made us feel like it was worthy to live again. You know, it was like we were seen, we were loved, and they didn't do much. So as a church, a lot of us think I need to have a lot of money, or I need to have all these knowledge before I can help refugee people, before I can help. They just lived life with us. They took us to the park. The husband did barbecue with us. You know, like he would literally grilled burgers that he bought at Fry's, and like, but all that made us feel like, I don't know, we were seen. I don't know how else to describe it. And a lot of my siblings, they created a space where they can talk about all the struggles that they were having. That's what matters. Like actually living in a relationship is what is the bigger thing. So when I talk to a church, when I talk to my kids, when I talk to my siblings, whether you have no money or whether you have $1 million, it's not going to change what's on your heart. Because if you don't want to help people, you're not going to help people whether you're a billionaire or not. So stop using that as an excuse. Or, you know, and again, it sounds like I'm talking to other people. These are conversations I have with myself. Look what God's done for you. What are you actually doing to help people, your neighbors, your physical neighbor, but like the people that are in need? Also, I just think like being is what, like, you know, we want to feel other people. We want to be in relationship. I want to feel like I matter, you know, and you can send me all the money you want. That's not going to make me feel like I matter. How many people that have money struggle with so many things, you know, like they're not immune to that. So I think for me, the biggest message I say, don't wait. Because we also always think someone else has a better answer to like, or someone else. Because for me, when it came to refugee people, my biggest thing was that's my mom's thing. Until I got to college, because my mom has always felt this huge thing on her heart of like helping orphans, helping people back home that have gone through the same thing, but also just refugee people. So my mom will go when she heard that a refugee person was here, go to their house, take them grocery shopping, or they might need a couch. Yeah. And she might figure out, hey, can someone donate a couch? Or she might buy my couch if she can afford it. And I would help her do all these things. But I would always think that's my mom's thing. Like helping refugee people is not a Bikonzi thing. It's like, I'll help my mom. Like, like if, there's 10 of us. If we need to move a couch or move someone in, like I'm willing to do it, but that's not my thing. Like I don't want to. And of course, the older I got, the more I realized just the things that she installed in me by just doing, because as a parent, we always think I need to educate my kids this way. I think you educate your kids the best on what you do, because it's one thing telling my kids, I love people, but my kids never see people in my house, never see me living with people. So like that. So I think the biggest message I share with my kids is like, just be with people, just be with the people that are the least, be with the people that like need you, and be with them in the most simplest thing. Cause people always think about these big things, but just be like, go visit them, give them a cup of water. I don't know what else to say. So, but I just think being is like the one thing I would say.
I think this is a good actually segue as we think about kind of right now what's going on in our world, our society, and our culture. For churches, for Christians and for churches to love our refugee neighbors. You mentioned the idea of them being seen, community, belonging.
I mean, refugee, but immigrants, foreigners.
Immigrant, I mean, stranger. I mean, we can, the whole. Are there other things, other elements, other actions that would be helpful for us to do as Christians, as churches?
Yeah, I think as a Christian, we use the whole term, we're very welcoming, we're very hospitable, we're very, I remember I attended a church and a homeless person tried to walk in and they kicked him out or told them he couldn't come in. And I think it just reminded me of like, if people that are struggling can't go into church, what are they supposed to turn into? Or what are they supposed to turn to? Yeah. Like we're called to like, again, of course, no one wants like, I guess like to have a congregation full of homeless people. That's not, but what if that's what God is calling you to do? So I think for me as a church is when we use the term of like, I'm hospitable, I'm welcoming, what does that actually mean? Yeah. Because I'm very hospitable to my siblings, the people I love. They're more than welcome to come into my house. But the people that I don't like, I mean, most of them are not welcome. But I think as I get older, I learn like, okay, what is God? I'm not saying put your family in danger. I'm not encouraging all that because there's also like God has also given us a brain to. Sure. But like if you are a church and someone in need or someone that has, I don't know, I'm not even trying to get too political or any of that, but like if someone's in need and tries to come to your church and you turn them away and you say, I serve Jesus, like, come on, man, you're sending kind of like a different message. Like that's
mixed
just like
messages
confusing.
For sure.
So like I think as a church, like when you say I'm welcoming, you shouldn't be welcoming to just the people that are wearing suits or whatever.
That look like you.
Yeah, like
James 2 actually has something pretty interesting to say about that. In the book of James, it's about the sin of partiality. And
this is true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think churches. I mean, I grew up in a church, so again, as I say, churches.
Sure.
I am part of the church. I'm not gonna say like I'm not resolved from any of these things. I'm not like because I think when I speak, some people think No, I don't, because I struggle with these same things. These are things I continue to work on to get better. But I think if we don't have conversations about it and actually encourage one another, like, hey, John, how are you? Like, how can we do this better? Yeah. We're just going to be stuck in our own little bubble. And most of our bubble is full of people that are like us. So that's why for me, ever since I was like in 6th grade, I just said I was going to surround myself with people that were different. When I was in high school, if I saw someone that looked different, I would go talk to them because I believe I learn the most when I'm with people that are different. When you and I sit down, we both believe in the Bible, we believe in Jesus. I can still learn from that, but it's more of like to continue my journey. But if I meet someone that's not a Christian, it's going to even help me think about the Bible differently. All these questions they're asking, why are they asking them? Then it's going to help me. How do I do that? So I think for me, like I always just think as a church,
Yeah, that's good.
who are you willing? I feel like in the generation we live in, again, I'm not trying to, I think we care more about serving people than we do care about serving Jesus. We care about how we look more to the people than how we look. Because I always think when I went to that church, I always just think through, who are you more afraid of?
Wow.
You know, the people that maybe are giving offering to your church, or are you afraid of God? And I know the one person I want to answer to one day is, and again, I don't live life like 100% correctly. And these are things I also we're all sinful. But I think one thing is when that time comes, the one person I'm more afraid of to like sit there and be like, yeah, but I did that. Like is when I'm standing in front of Jesus, I want to make sure that like I was more afraid of him than I was afraid of like how I'm going to look in front of people. Or is my church getting enough people? Or is all these things, then we end up making Jesus something that is not. Again, I didn't go to school to be a pastor, and I know we're out of churches. So I'm not trying to like.
Just you can say it. You don't gotta hedge it.
I'm
it's
just
real.
saying because I think all these things are things I wrestle with. My mom started a church, and the people that I have the deepest conversation about this that I have is my mom's church. You know, so I think for me, I'm just always thinking, who are you more afraid of? Who are you answering to? Yeah. And if you're just answering to people, this is not like, hey, I'm a leader, I'm a pastor, I can't have conversation with other pastors. That's not true. But I'm saying if the whole reason you're having church, you're like performing for the people, like, I don't know, then go get a business. I don't know. It just makes me more mad. Yeah. But yes, I that's what I would. I don't even know if I touched base on so I apologize if I did.
No, you don't gotta apologize at all. This is good. I was gonna say, as you were talking, man, one of the scriptures that came to my mind. Well, you said something along the lines of do people care about serving people versus serving Jesus? And I believe it's Matthew 7 where it talks about how all these people did these things in Jesus' name. And Jesus is going to say, they're going to be like, oh, I did this. Blah, blah, blah. And Jesus is going to say, depart from me, I never knew you. And I wonder, in line of what you were just saying in terms of serving people versus serving Jesus, how many people will hear that sobering phrase?
No, that's very sober.
Yeah.
Very sobering.
Yeah, anyways, it's just, as you were talking, I'm like, man, that's really, that's good. So
it's funny you bring up that verse. That's honestly like probably the verse that I try, in a sense, I don't even know surround my life is the correct word. I always go back to that before I make decision. And as I live, because I'm always thinking there's going to be a day I'm standing in front of Jesus. And the biggest thing I'm afraid of is him saying that, depart from me.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is like,
yeah,
I don't know how to,
it's one of those scary, probably the scariest, one of the most scariest verses in the Bible.
But if you also take that verse seriously,
yeah,
as a church, how you do church, and I'm not saying churches need to be perfect because it's ran by human. We're going to make mistakes. But what I'm saying is if you actually live, because when I look at things and I'm like, okay, I'm reading the Bible, like our being is, they don't match. Because the thing is, like, ever since I was little, my mom always told me, if I were to put you and other non-believer in the same room, there should be something different. Yep. Someone should say, I don't know what it is, but there's something different about Bikonzi. And that thing that should make me different, it's not because I'm good at basketball or whatever. They should see something different. And that something different is Jesus. And I think sometimes churches nowadays, we would rather look more like what's happening than we would. Because if we stand out, we might lose our funding. We might lose... Again, I've never been a part of like leadership at a church, so I'm not trying to.
But you're talking that talk. We had an episode called Industry of Church, and it talks a lot about that when you say certain things and people who would typically give leave. They say, oh, if you're not going to talk about what I want you to talk about, I'm not going to give here anymore. Yeah. And people they make decisions like, where am I going to give my money? That's where I'll go. Not necessarily like, where can I go belong? Where can I go be a part of something? Where can I become a member one of another and say, even if I disagree, even if I don't like everything here, I'm just committed to the people and I'm going to work it out. Like I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. And that process is not clean. It's not always like precise. It's not always like predictable, but again, it's real and
it's real
and it's holy. Like that is the thing. Like the idea of being conformed into the image of his son by like the friction that happens with other people and the correction, the rebuke, and the back and forth, and the I thought you said, and I thought you said, and going through that period and having an actual story of color that paints real pictures,
No, that's good.
But that we turned it into that is,
yeah. Well, Bikonzi, man, this has been great, man. Thank you for coming, bro. This has been awesome, man. We're gonna have to bring him back, man.
Bro. You cannot make this stuff up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bring you back, man. Thank you for your story. Yeah. And obviously it was released, so you want to tell people where they can get it at and whatnot.
Yeah, I think you can get it at most bookstore, and you can get it on Amazon. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not, it's at most places, but it's at Amazon. I'm assuming most people have an Amazon account.
And where can people find, like, you said you're at Mission One, like, or just your personal store if they want to connect, or social or whatever, is anything like that you want people to connect to?
I am working on being a little bit more on social. I realize I should have probably been born like 50 years later. I'm not good at social media. So my younger siblings have been trying to help me with that. So, but of course, I mean, my social name is just my name, Bikonzi Moise. So, but I mean, I do work for Mission One, and I think, Mission One's great in what they do. So that's another place to connect me with. Like you can just go to mission1.org and find out more about what we do and get to be a part of, the journey. And yeah, I'm pretty sure if you type in my name, you'll just find the stuff. So yeah.
Make sure y'all get the book, Cockroaches, God, Death, and Mangoes, The True Story of Bikonzi Moise. Big shout out to Pastor Clint, who wrote this book, good friend of yours, who you asked to write this book.
Yeah. Clint's the only reason I wrote the book, if I'm being honest. And I know I didn't touch bases on that when I met him. And my freshman year, him and 3 other white kids, I know I use color because it's
okay.
But they asked me to go, they met me playing basketball. I was at GCU. And they're like, hey, you want to go to spring break with us? And I thought it was shocking because most people that meet me playing basketball, usually we're not,
They don't want to follow up.
Yeah. So when they asked me, I was like, okay, is this a trap? I literally went and I was calling I was like, why? So then we went there, and then they were good Christian people. They were sharing their testimony. And I was like, what the heck is happening? Yeah. And then I shared mine. That was like the first time I actually... and I learned Clint was a great writer and all that stuff. So then I asked him because I wanted someone that's going to tell my story honestly. Because I didn't want someone to make it into something. Because the whole goal why we wrote this, because it was never going to be a book, actually. I was really kind of against it at the beginning. But with all that's happening in the world was why we ended up turning. But it was more because we started this because I wanted it on writing. So with my kids, when I'm 70, and my kids are asking, I'm like, I kind of remember. I'm like, hey, just read the book. It kind of, the way we wrote it too, it's not just factual. It's more of like the feeling of the things taking place to help people kind of invite people. And so Clint's amazing. He's a good friend, but shout out to him for sure.
Shout out to him. Shout out to all the organizations, refugee organizations that's doing good work. Phoenix Refugee Connection with Mary Keish,
the CEO.
So big shout out to him.
You haven't? Yeah, well, William was the president, but he's no longer.
He's not there anymore.
No, Olivia.
I met him years ago. He was a good dude.
Yeah, William's great, but he's back in Alabama.
Got you.
So, nice. Yeah. Well, listen, folks, like, share, comment. Like we always say, love God, love people. We are out. Peace.